This is Hobo and the Vet.
I'm the vet, but I'm still in the army, so I'm not a vet.
And I'm not really homeless anymore, which ironically means I am a veteran of homelessness. So today on Hobo and the Vet, we have a good old friend named Zach Williams.
Zwilli!
Zwilli. And
What?
he's a rapper. He goes to college
Yeah.
for forensics.
Nice.
See, Tristen's actually, it's very fitting. He's the hype man, which is definitely a big valuable thing in rap music, so.
Watch.
Yeah, we're excited to have him on. Hopefully you guys enjoy him too. Alright, just to sync everything, I'm actually going to remember to do this time. Good.
We never do that.
Except we all clapped at different times, so that's going to make it harder to sync.
Just now?
Yeah.
Want to do it again?
Yeah. How about just one of us claps? Actually, I'll let you clap, Zach, since you're the guest. Go ahead.
That clap was lame.
Yo, I can't not see that cat.
Oh,
Like, I can't not- yeah.
Rap cover?
Yeah, I can't not see it anymore. It's always there.
I can't see it, period.
No? Can you see Scooby-Doo in it?
No, honestly, I think it's just I think it's one of those things where you were tripping, you looked at it, you saw something.
Did you explain this to him?
Yeah, he explained it to me the
Did
other
I?
night.
I did?
Remember we got drunk the other night?
I don't remember the
Well, I
shit,
know that
the
didn't
topics
happen.
What?
discussed.
That did happen.
That did happen, actually. Me, him, and
did.
Chance. That's when we decided. And you were doing... I think it was on a weekend. I think it's like a Thursday
Yeah.
or something.
I thought you weren't drinking.
Me too. Yeah.
He had 2 beers.
So yeah, my new limit when I do occasionally drink, I'm just gonna have 2, so I don't even really get drunk. But those were IPAs, so I did feel it a little bit. But like within a few hours, I was like perfectly
This
fine
is at
to
your house?
drive home. Yeah.
Oh, when was that?
Oh, shit. This was...
I remember he did text you like to come, but
This
he said-
was...
I think he did tell me that
the
it'd be
last-
cool if we came through.
The last time...
he texted me
it
when I
wasn't
had
that.
to go to work the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was on like a Wednesday or
Yeah,
Thursday
it was
because...
Wednesday.
Yeah, Chance had Thursday off. That's
It's
right.
probably good you didn't come. Like we ended up like staying up till like 3:30 a.m. and
Was it? Was it that late
it was
that
late
you
as
left?
fuck. Yeah, I left at like three something. Like
Wait,
3:20.
that's right, because me and Chance had already been kicking it for like 2 hours before.
Yeah, Chance was so
Yeah.
fucking drunk, dude. Oh my god.
That
Yeah.
man is a lightweight.
Yeah.
He really is.
I love Chance. I love that I get to hang out with him now. Like
Yeah.
seriously, that podcast made us buddies. Like, I mean, I think I was telling you
I
that
actually
night
hate
too.
him now. It's weird.
Yeah, after the podcast really solidified your idea of hatred for Chance. That makes
Yeah,
sense,
like
yeah.
I was always indifferent about him. Now I'm like, dude's a real fucking asshole. Like, he's honestly such a piece of work, man. Just kidding. I love you.
How could God even like let that slide?
At the end of the day, Chance is a typo in life.
Oh my God.
Why are you being so mean to Chance?
so-
Chance is the best.
Because he can't defend himself.
Those are always the best. Just pure attack on a defenseless person.
You feel so much power.
It's like
There's always an evil moment in our podcast. I think I accidentally left it in the last one too. I don't even remember what it was. There was like the one with Chance where it was like wife beating.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's terrible.
it's like killing a unicorn with like a bomb.
It's wonderful.
Alright, well, I guess we should get started.
I guess.
Yeah.
So, for the freestyle and everything, I kind of wanted to get us in the mood I wanted to recount the story. I don't know if Tristen actually knows this story. I wanted to tell him about when we were. I'll just paint a picture, and you tell me how much you remember, because I understand if it was pretty vague. You got hit pretty hard in the head.
Oh no, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
So here's me painting the picture. We were very early in high school. Just started kind of hanging out with Zach, and you weren't able to come this time actually, but it was. This is what I need your help with. Who was all there? I know.
Together?
No, this is when I was actually still with my dad. It was before then, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. But so there was Dakota, I think Chandler. That's probably it. I think.
And he was not there?
He wasn't there. No.
Then
Not-
yeah,
not
it must
that
have been those only 2.
Yeah, it was those two, you and I. Yeah. And
I wish I was there.
especially when you hear what's about to happen. So just picture this: it's Zach and I in the middle,
Okay.
and then the rest of them. I feel like there was a third guy, but I can't remember. But yeah, there was them surrounding us. We're all shirtless, and like they're cheering and Zach and I are in the middle, and I'm swinging. I remember what it was. It was like a pretty light heavy bag, like maybe like a 40-pound heavy bag. I'm swinging this.
Okay, I have heard this.
Okay, yeah.
Wait,
So
I thought it was like a body pillow. Like one of those big, long... I thought it was a body pillow.
I thought it was... See, okay.
I feel like a heavy
think we-
bag would have fucking killed me.
Okay, maybe it was a giant pillow, yeah. That makes more sense. Although, how would you remember if it was a heavy bag, man?
It's a fair point.
Just continue, please.
Yeah, so a big item of some kind with a decent amount of weight, because I was able to like throw it into somebody. And this is what I most remember. So it was Zach's turn, because we were all taking turns of me swinging this thing, and so it was like this weird gladiator battle thing. But he wasn't able to fight back. He was just there dodging this body pillow or whatever the hell it was. And I just remember, like, he ducks it, and then they go, oh! And he jumps over it. Oh, my God! And when he comes up, I give my third swing, and it hits him right in the head and knocks him to the ground.
And he did some, like, weird shit, too. He brought it down, so I was, like, going to jump, or maybe it was the opposite. He brought it up, and so I ducked, and then it came back down, and he hit me, and he caught me right
like
here.
Figure 8 on that motherfucker. Set you up.
Yep.
That sounds like something he would do too.
Yeah.
Just like for whatever reason he's like, like evil fucking laugh in his head, like super maniacal. Like watch this, like, makes you feel like okay, I got it. You know, puts you at your highest point so he can just fucking destroy you.
Okay, man, that's not so over dramatic. I simply was using technical feints so I could destroy him. It's.
But you want to bring him from this peak.
Yeah.
And
There you go.
I was riding a
pretty
pretty good ego high.
Yeah,
back then.
and then, but you didn't see that. You didn't see that. That third and final hit coming down right in your head. But it knocked him to the ground, and he got up and he was dizzy. I don't know if we continued from that on, but yeah, just that sight of like these like shirtless boys. I mean, it's the epitome of masculinity when you think about it.
If it weren't for that trial that you guys ran through, you would never know how much of a man you really were.
That's how the fucking gladiators started.
I'm like,
That's how they started out, and the Spartans, all of them did that shit. Yeah.
And then they're like, "Hey man, we're fucking good enough. Let's get some swords."
swords. We've been dodging all fucking day. You hit me with the body bag one fucking time.
And then religion gets brought into it, and they're like, "Wait a minute, let's start a war, man. Let's fucking do that. They disagree with us. Let's take our skills."
You know how many times I've dodged swords? Enough to win a war, bro. I will not lie though. After hearing that story, I think my testosterone levels have boosted.
Yeah. You know, actually, before this, Zach and I went to go get cigars, but they didn't have them at the corner store. And he did mention that a lot of that was because he wanted to sell like a masculine activity to get into this sort of. But
Sitting here
I think
smoking a
that's it for
cigar
me.
Yeah, that would be
in this fucking sweet sweatshirt and these glasses, I'd feel like a mob don, bro.
Yeah, like fuck those guys for not having cigars.
Yeah, I know.
Not really surprised though.
I know. It's just like
Fuck the corner
random
store. They're probably not gonna have cigars. They're gonna have.
They had some up if I'd known that.
They had cigars that every gas station has. They had Swisher Sweets and Black and Milds, and those are not cigars.
Those are trashy.
Yeah.
I would just feel like I lived in a box if I was drinking a Black and Mild right now. No offense to the hobo or anything, just
Wait, what? Say that again?
considering he's
I didn't live in a fucking box. Like, wait, what comes to mind when since I'm a what I like to call a veteran of homelessness? Like, do you think I had a stick with like a shirt
The
tied
bandana?
on the end of it? Yeah, a bandana tied on the end of it, and like over my shoulder, and I'm whistling old shanties, walking around.
Your sign says, "Bet you can't hit me with a quarter."
Yeah,
Or
a silver dollar.
oh my god,
no!
this was
Thanks to
bad.
head!
I actually used to have a friend that would. I remember I got a wrist rocket. I was like in 5th grade. You know, like those like powerful slingshots. And I remember just him like chasing me around, like firing coins at me with a fucking slingshot. And he hit me so many times.
That was not a friend.
I know. That's why I was.
That's a bully.
Yeah. Well, see, the funny thing is, he was like a good like 3 years older than me. He lived next door or whatever, and when I started to like shoot him with it, because obviously I'm gonna like shoot him back when I get my hands on it.
Right.
He didn't give it back for a while, but I started shooting him, and he got super mad and told his mom.
Of course he did.
I just those people, man.
Those
the hypocrisy. I mean, God, that's what's wrong with America.
Hypocrisy. That's what's wrong with America.
Yeah.
One of the things.
Why do you keep looking at that poster, man? Like,
I don't know.
You think it's gonna change?
No, I'm just looking around, man.
Yeah. No, if you look around, you'll notice that I'm pretty like OCD in ways. Like because like I don't really have much I can control. I write everything down on whiteboards to give me some sort of illusion, a sense of illusion of control. If that makes sense.
Everything that it says on here, everything that I'm reading on here are things that you can control.
Basically, yeah.
With the exception of your work schedule.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
don't make that.
I still work around that. Basically, like if
But
you
all your shit here, your diet up there.
see, I get up early enough every day so I can do all the AM stuff, and then I write, edit, breakfast, and all that's supposed to be done by 11 or 12. And like if I have enough time, like at very least I want to be able to write or edit for an hour, and then I exercise and shower if I have a late shift. But I even put there that if that's not the case, then I'll exercise and shower after work. So yeah, I'm a control freak about that shit.
You actually read an hour a day?
Mm-hmm. Well, if you look, see, it's so weird about it because basically it's 30 pages, which takes around that time depending on the material, because I'm generally reading nonfiction, and so I want to take notes and stuff. Or 15 pages and study with a different method. So like sometimes I'll put on videos. I've been trying to gain more broad knowledge lately, so as dumb as it may seem, I've been watching like a ton of crash course videos lately, just because I was not like very formally educated. Because like in high school, if you look at my attendance, I literally missed half the days. So there's so right now I'm on crash course politics and world history, just because there's some shit, like some basic stuff that I want to know. And crash course, it's like easy and fun. So yeah.
What I've been reading, and I've already talked to him about this. One of my history professors, Professor Tackett, what's his name? He made us buy all these books for my French Revolution class. And one of them, it was the Napoleonic Wars, and it was a very short introduction. That's what it was called. And it's like a real, like, pocket-sized book, right? 100 to 150 pages. And it's small, but it's
than the economics.
Yeah.
More or less smaller than that.
And it's written by an expert on the topic. Like, I think the dude who wrote that one was like a professor at Oxford or something, and he's like an expert on the Napoleonic Wars.
So he's a historian,
Yeah.
I'm guessing?
Yeah,
Okay.
and there are like 400 of these very short introduction books that are all on different topics. Like, I've only got 2 right now, that one, and then I bought the only one that I could find at Barnes & Noble, and it was Happiness. And it's like 100 pages on the abstract concept of
Like
what
the
happiness
psychology
is.
behind happiness?
Yeah, and what makes you happy, what it actually is.
Yeah, because
Other
I
than
think people
happy is happy, and I'm happy. You know,
I don't think most people actually understand. I don't want to
Yeah.
say most people, but a good pocket of people don't actually know what happiness is. You know, like
Right. It's just something you feel, and you brush it off as that. Yeah, it's
Have you
like
read
that.
about it? Like, have
Yeah.
you read that book?
So I'm like 2/3 of the way done. I've been reading it slow. I'm only like 90 pages in. But
I've been reading the same book for like 6 months now, dude. Mostly I was reading the book for a month and I haven't read it in 6 months. But I'm gonna get back to it.
But yeah, if you like that like crash course stuff, those, I mean, I think they're $10 to $12 a piece, and there are just about 400 of these books, all different fucking topics.
see what's
And any topic you can think of, really.
see those are great. I I love something that Sam Harris says. So Sam Harris is like this like really heavyweight intellectual. He's a neurologist and now he's more of a philosopher than like a lab neurologist. But he got into neurology simply because he wanted to understand the mind more, which makes sense. And he doesn't write 400-page books like all of his adversaries and everybody who writes the similar material he does. And he explains that the reason that people drag on and write 400-page books about a topic is because if you write it in 100 pages, then it's harder to make as much money off of it. It's strictly like an economic thing, basically. And so his goal is he tries to write it like he says, if I can take this topic that this guy wrote in 500 pages and I can explain it in 80 or 100, then why wouldn't I just do that? Mm-hmm. And that's when he started to do research and he figured out, oh yeah, it's because it doesn't make as much money, it's harder to get published. Like even just that alone, it's harder to get published as a standalone novel because it's not quote-unquote novel length.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, but he doesn't give a shit about that. And as a result though, it's like his books are so much better to me and there's just like he
can learn just as much, but in like 1/5 the time.
Mm-hmm. Like he wrote the best, I would consider the best book on free will in like a few hundred pages or less. I don't even remember how long it is. But everybody else, it's like, oh, like some people take like 1,200 pages to write a book about philosophy, especially like Ayn Rand or people like from that time. It's like, yep, we got to write a 1,200-page essay essentially, or a series of essays just to describe one theme or one topic. And a guy like Sam Harris could do it in a lot less. So yeah, I definitely want to find that series you're talking about though. I love those. There's also like little even smaller fun ones like 101. That's one of my ironically that's one of my favorite books about film. The 101. What is the small print? 101. I want to say lessons.
Things. 101 things I learned in film school.
Yeah. So like there's a series like that with one guy that always has like a co-writer, like an expert on the subject or something, or a few.
This is super fucking helpful.
Yeah, it's
I didn't even read any of it except for like the headings.
But it's like, it's sometimes as simple as, one of the things that will always stick out to me from that book, like, it's so impactful, like, because it'll be, like, one little paragraph or so, maybe a few, like, one small page, and then a picture representing what they're talking about, but one thing I'll always remember, just as an example from that book, is, it showed a picture of, like, a guy walking in a door, and it's like, if you gotta have a character walk in a door, then that's nothing. And then it showed a guy climbing through the window, and it's like, if you have a guy climbing through a window at the beginning of a scene, then you have a situation. Mm-hmm. And that just, like, that sort of thing just, like, sticks out to me. I'm like, oh yeah, like, sometimes we forget, to simply, like, make an action more exciting just by a gesture like that, instead of coming through the door.
Coming through the window raises questions.
Oh, something's happening. What is happening?
Yeah.
Like, what's going to happen?
Does this guy live here? Did this guy forget his keys? Is he breaking in? You have all these questions going. And
when he walks in, you're just like, oh, dude, just walked through the door.
Yeah.
It's like, average, this is average.
Yeah. So I hope that there's like a trend that grows in the future of shorter books that get the message across because
the
fastest way from point A to point B is a straight line. Like, don't beat around the bush. Tell me all this extra stuff. Like, let me get to the point.
It's definitely necessary to digress at times, especially if like it's a pretty convoluted topic.
Yeah,
like there are necessary digressions, but sometimes it's kind of just disconcerting and a little upsetting. Even that there's a lot of books out there that are like, in excess of like hundreds of pages for no good reason other than it helps them get published. Like that's like fraud. That's legitimate fraud in my opinion. Like that's terrible.
And that makes me think like, what are they even talking about? Are they repeating themselves, or
it becomes it's just redundancy. Honestly, like they're just going on and on and on. And of course there's probably good examples of really long books, like nonfiction books, where there's so much information they do need to delve deeper into it. But free will is a pretty fucking convoluted topic when you get into it. Mm-hmm. And Sam Harris did it in a few hundred pages, or sometimes him and a guy will break it down perfectly in a 2-hour podcast. It's like, yeah,
I think it's beneficial to the audience as well, because not only, obviously, like you said, it's more beneficial to them, but it also gives them like a sense of progress, like
you feel smarter when you finish a chapter in 10 pages.
or when you have this 100-page book that you finished in a week, and you're like, oh yeah, I busted that shit out. I read that quick. I feel like I'm reading a lot. Whereas when it takes you a month to read a 1,200-page book, you're like, fuck, I'm still reading this thing.
Yeah.
You know? And
it's like you're 10 pages done with a 100-page book, like you're 10% done. 10 pages in, fucking.
And I feel like it's a lot.
1,000-page book, you're 1% done. That's taking forever. It's almost like, and it demotivates me. I'm like, I don't want to invest a whole lot of time in something, especially if I'm like kind of taking a chance on it. Like I'm like, oh, maybe I can learn about that.
Yeah.
I'd rather learn. It's something brief, and if it interests me more, I can go pick a longer book.
Yeah, I don't want to spend 60 or 70 pages in the introduction of a topic that I'm not even sure I care about.
See, one of my like personal codes with reading, I steal from other intellectuals far more superior than I. But in the realm of deschooling, I think I was talking about this a little bit last episode, where like kind of when you get out of formal schooling to achieve like your learning goals in the most efficient way, you kind of have to deschool yourself, learn to not learn in the same way that you did in school, because it's just not the most efficient way to comprehend information and to just get it. You're just reading from a textbook most of the time. So, but anyway, in the realm of deschooling, there's also like you're told to study as selfishly as possible, and included with that is if you're reading a book and you've already gotten what you need out of it. Obviously, be honest with yourself. Don't just put down a book and get rid of it because you're just tired of reading, or maybe you're a slow reader. But there comes a point where there's just excess of like hundreds of pages, and you already got the concept you need, or maybe you read enough from this author and you go, okay, yes, I get what you're trying to tell me here. I get this information. Bless you.
Thank you.
And I can move on accordingly, and maybe I can like for me sometimes, especially with the help of the internet, sometimes I'll have this weird thing where I'll learn about a topic, maybe from a podcast or a video a lot of the time, and an author will get brought up that describes the topic really good, and I'll go, okay, yeah, I'll start reading that author. And then I'll go and I'll read a big portion of that book, and then when I start to notice it just becomes redundant more and more, I'll go back to like the table of contents, see what else they're going to cover, and then I'll end up like quitting that book, even if there's like another half of it left, because that's already like helped me progress to what I need to go to and then from there basically I might even go back to videos to fully like comprehend the whole concept or whatever. And I don't know, what I'm trying to say is I look at it more as like a process to get the topic. I'm not, because the thing is, I mean, sometimes you'll read a book and still even then you're not fully understanding the message or the concept or whatever we're talking about, the philosophy, whatever the material may be. And so even from then, you might want to have to go find another author, another book, another podcast, another video, or whatever the case. So I look at it as a process when I'm trying to learn about one thing, and I use as many sources as possible.
Yeah, it's a variety.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes, it's like to be as efficient of a learner as possible, you have to quit that book, because it's becoming redundant, and it's not actually like... To be blunt with it, it's becoming a waste of time now. It's becoming a waste of time.
You are no longer progressing.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of books that I've read a bunch of, and then I quit. Or like the 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem over there. That's one of the biggest life-changing books in my life. But I skipped the last section because it was getting more into it's like these 6 pillars of self-esteem, and then there's like a subtle 7th pillar of self-esteem, which it's basically going over like the effect it has on like parenting and social stuff. And eventually I will want to go back to that. But at the time, I was solely focused on my own self-esteem. And so I put that book down at that period because it was no longer...
beneficial.
At least at that time.
At that time, yeah.
So it's like... And that allowed me to make space and go on to another source or even another topic entirely. So I just think that's something worth thinking about. Sorry if I rambled on that for a while. But.
Yeah, no, that is a good thing to keep in mind. I think you have to... Another big piece of that before you just... You kind of covered this too before you just decide, oh, this isn't beneficial to me anymore because you're just ready to be done with it. You have to really, like, truly know how you learn best, too. Mm-hmm. Because if you... There's some people that learn way better when they're watching something and watching YouTube clips or, a show on Netflix or Hulu or whatever the fuck, than people, as opposed to, like, sitting down with a huge textbook and just reading through it, And then there are people who are the opposite, People who aren't going to go and watch that because they get distracted easily or whatever, and they'll sit down and they'll read about it. And they
maybe they're so bored with something that they can't help but get distracted by anything else in the room that's more stimulating.
Mm-hmm. Could be. But whatever the case may be, if you don't know what's gonna benefit you the most in terms of what media you're using to learn this information, then it doesn't matter if, you do that thing 5-6 times.
Yeah.
You're still it's not gonna be as beneficial as if you did something that truly benefits you more 2 or 3 times, Like, I'm better at, I prefer watching something, like if it's, like, nonfiction, like, we'll use Animal Planet, for example. I'd rather watch that and learn from that than go to the library and rent a book on fucking koalas,
I mean, there's also something so great about the internet now that speeds up the learning process. Think, like, the only way to figure out, like, let's say you know a few of your interests just, like, intuitively, like maybe you're into animals, we'll say, just to stay in that realm. The only way that you could really, like, start discovering what you want to specifically learn about is you go to the library and look at, like, animal section or whatever, and you find books. You're like, okay, well, like, maybe I want to learn about koalas, that's pretty cool. And then you read that book, maybe you read the entire thing, and then you go, yeah, not really that into koalas, I guess we'll go to, like, to the next book on the shelf. It's like, whereas nowadays, like I said before, like, I listen to a ton of podcasts, and that's where I end up getting the most, like, the initial interest in something. Like, maybe I'll hear them talk about a specific realm of neurology, and I'll go, oh shit, that would totally benefit my life if I learned about that. Or I just, like, really selfishly want to learn about that for some reason. Maybe just to talk about it on my own podcast. So I'll take the interest that I got from there, and I'm like, I can so much more efficiently get into the real source information that will teach me about that. Like, that podcast isn't going to give me everything I need.
Right.
So I'll use that, and then after that book, I might go back to YouTube. And yeah, I think there's just intrinsically something really beneficial about having a variety of media, as we've been talking about, to figure it out, and also just to stay interested, because, like, a big old 1,200-page book can be just daunting, and, like, yeah, maybe I don't care that much about learning about it,
Yeah, and 2 people I have to shout out for doing that exact thing. One was Bill Burr on Joe Rogan's podcast.
You mean Bill Burr?
Yeah. Got me interested in piloting. It's like the first 30 minutes or something. He's talking about how he went and he got his pilot's license, and that interested me. I think I'm gonna do that. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that eventually.
Really?
For when the fucking zombie apocalypse comes and just
when
the fucking helicopter,
Not this
like he says. And then the RZA of
What's
the
that?
Wu-Tang Clan. The RZA, the dude who started the rap group, the Wu-Tang Clan. He wrote a book. It's called The Wu-Tang Manual. I actually have it in my car. And he talks about all of the shit that really brought them together and all their influences and their music making. They're super huge into films, specifically kung fu films. And I went and downloaded a fuckload of kung fu films and watched some on YouTube and stuff.
Have you seen Kung Fury?
I have not seen that.
Well, it's not a real, like, kung fu movie. It's like a comedy parody shit, but it's hilarious. You should check it out.
Yeah, the first one, my favorite one so far, which I wouldn't even really call this a kung fu movie, and it makes me as much of, like, a fucking young little bastard as any movie, is Kung Fu Hustle, because it came out in 2004. And it's a kung fu comedy movie. I don't know if either one of you've seen that, but
my favorite's even worse, debatably, because I would probably say, I mean, I really liked Bruce Lee.
Enter the Dragon,
up, but I would probably say Kill Bill.
that I really like.
Just like the twist on it, and I don't know, just everything about it is just so great.
Yeah,
but it's like
I wouldn't even.
Not a traditional kung fu movie.
Yeah, no, because I mean everything is actually voiced and it's not dubbed, which that's like the huge thing, really. A real authentic kung fu movie is dubbed usually.
Into the Dragon, that's the one where the dude is like... That's the one with the hallway fight scene? Is that the one?
Oh, that's, no, we're talking about, like, old Bruce Lee movie.
Oh, okay.
Fights Chuck Norris.
I'm lost.
That's the one with Kareem, too, right?
I haven't seen enough movies.
Into the Dragon is the one with Kareem? Where he's got the glasses on, he takes them off.
No, that's, that's my favorite
that's
Bruce
Game
Lee
of
movie.
Death, huh?
Yeah, that one's actually my favorite Bruce Lee movie. It's super cool too because, like, it sort of predicted, like, his death in a way in the movie because he actually this is not how Bruce Lee died. I found out, but a rumor for a while was that he died like on set from getting shot, but I don't think that's what happened.
You're thinking of the other Lee, Brandon Lee, the dude who was on in The Crow.
But for a while, I grew up and I remember people telling me that Bruce Lee died the same way, like as Brandon Lee.
I heard too.
Yeah, it's so dumb that they just make that up. But I guess it predicted his Brandon Lee's death because like in the movie, like he basically like fakes his death for some reason. I don't even remember the plot entirely, but it's like it's got a lot of
Game of Death.
Yeah, it's got a lot of iconic scenes though where he has to like go up. He's like going on these different levels until he fights Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He has the yellow jumpsuit that Kill Bill wears.
Yeah.
Basically like in Volume 2. So, oh, that's still Volume 1. Never mind. But anyway, yeah.
That fight scene was iconic, dude. When he fucking fought Kareem.
Yeah,
that was so badass.
He's such a weird looking guy. He's like 7 foot something tall. He's like super thin.
Yeah,
so this is weird. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to step up my game, I suppose, and kung fu movies. I haven't seen one movie that you guys are talking about. Not one.
Oh, they're fun to watch, but
I also haven't seen like that many movies.
It's not something you can just sit down and be like, oh, I've got time to kill, I'm gonna watch a kung fu movie. It's kind of like you have to mentally prepare yourself to go and watch these movies because they're so different. They're so different. Like, if you're looking to just sit down and watch it like you would, like, let's say a fucking Spider-Man movie, you're gonna want to shut it off and blow your fucking head off because if you're thinking about it like that, it's going to be super slow and you're just not going to get into it. But if you approach it as, okay, this is a kung fu movie, there's going to be dubbing, there's going to be cheesy action, sound effects, it's like an old movie, and you get into that, then it's like nothing else.
It's definitely not a genre for everybody though.
It doesn't sound like something I'd be too interested in.
Yeah, I mean it's sort of like I compare it to kind of like westerns too. It's a very especially nowadays it's niche, but even then it's like not like everybody was into country movies or westerns. I like those though.
Yeah, me too.
And Tarantino's style, you can tell he was very into both those too. And, yeah, it's like Kill Bill even. It's sort of like a blend. Like it's got its like western qualities. Especially like as far as storytelling.
Yeah, him and Scorsese are two of, hands down, my favorite directors.
What's your favorite Scorsese film?
Goodfellas. I really like Wolf of Wall Street too.
Dude, Goodfellas was my least favorite Scorsese film by far.
Really?
Yeah.
That's my absolute favorite.
It's like so like it was hard for me to get through. I just don't know if it's aged well. Like it's like 3 hours long and it's just.
But
it's just sort of boring. Have you seen Casino?
I have not.
Dude,
that's like
Casino,
the only.
Here's the thing: Casino has all the elements that Goodfellas has, even like the same actors, and it just is better. It's even a true story too, just like Goodfellas, but it's so much better. Like, I feel like
that's like his most popular one.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. One of Quentin Tarantino's most popular movies for a while was True Romance, and that's by far his worst film in my opinion. And so, like, I compare those two movies. I think. True Romance is like Quentin Tarantino's Goodfellas. It's like the underdeveloped, they're still figuring it out sort of thing. Although Quentin Tarantino before True Romance was made, True Romance was like the first script he wrote, but then he wrote Reservoir Dogs, and Reservoir Dogs came out before True Romance actually. And I think it's because he didn't get to direct True Romance is why it got fucked up. He just wrote it. Yeah,
he partially wrote Natural Born Killers too, right?
Well, so it was the screenwriting, like, what do I call it? Like I almost said workforce. That's not the right word, but just like the community of screenwriters, I guess I'll say, for lack of better terminology. It's weird because like sometimes you'll write a screenplay, it might be your total initial idea, but then it's not exactly what the producer wants, and so they'll hire
make like revisions, people to come in and revise it.
Sometimes it's even worse than that. So basically, like what happens is there's a few stages of selling your screenplay. Like so, when someone first sells their screenplay, they'll option it, which means that the producer has the rights to it and he can make it. Or like sometimes like you'll option a script and it will never get made, or maybe it'll get made 10 years later. It just depends. But then there's also the stage where like even before it's made, it's still like an option, and they can do whatever they want with it. So maybe you provided the initial script, you write it, it's fully done. Maybe you want it to be shot just like that, but they have the rights to it. So if it's not exactly what they want, they may bring in a totally another writer. And I think there was actually 3 writers on Natural Born Killers, like 3 different writers with different ideas of how it should go before it got made. It was at least 2, obviously, but I think there was a 3rd guy. But no, it was definitely very different from Quentin Tarantino's original script,
Right.
and you can actually find his script online, which is nice. But yeah, like that's sort of daunting to me. But at least it wasn't like his baby or anything. Like, he has his own series of movies that are completely his own, absolutely his own. Just for that,
people know when you think Tarantino films, you have those movies that you think of before you think of True Romance or Natural Born Killers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I would never compare True Romance to Goodfellas.
Yeah, True Romance is garbage in my opinion. But
there's
Goodfellas
another
is not
one.
great. Honestly.
There's another one I'm forgetting. It's not Casino. It's not Goodfellas. It's not The Wolf of Wall Street.
Have you seen The Departed?
That might be it. Yes, I have seen that one. That's a good one too.
It's so good.
There's another one that I'm forgetting. I think he has another Shutter Island. That's what it is.
Yeah, Shutter Island was awesome.
That one's up there for me too.
Yeah.
He has a lot of films that I haven't seen.
See, I didn't even know that he did Wolf of Wall Street until like a year ago. I didn't know that was him. He's just like, he's really versatile.
Yeah, he is.
He definitely has like his own like hidden style behind each movie. You can kind of catch certain things that are similar, but no, I mean.
Oh, what the fuck is that other one? With De Niro too.
That's
Cape Fear. Cape Fear, right?
I don't know.
I think that's Scorsese.
Scorsese directed Taxi Driver, I think too. I know Paul Schrader wrote it, but I think Scorsese directed Taxi Driver.
Let's take a look. I think he did do Cape Fear, and that was one of my favorite ones, because of the way it how it transitions. Yep, how it transitions. I don't know if you've seen that one, where the dude gets out of prison. And he goes and he just like terrorizes his defense attorney because he went to prison. He's found guilty. He went to prison, and that's De Niro and Scorsese. And the way it transitions from scene to scene.
I feel like after all these movies with each other, they had to have fucked at least like 3 times.
From the way they transition from scene
4.
to scene, it's like top notch. It's definitely separate from every other movie you see by just some random director.
Yeah, I definitely want to see that.
And I think Tarantino's the same way too.
I'm sure we can all agree that Michael Bay is the best director in the world.
He is Bay. After all, no. Fuck Michael. Fuck Michael Bay.
I haven't been able to put a lot of input in, and that's because I don't know enough about those guys, but I know a lot about Michael Bay. So I think that goes to show that Michael Bay is the superior director.
Michael Bay is better than Quentin Tarantino.
Who's your favorite mainstream director?
You wouldn't call either one of those guys mainstream? Actually, no, you wouldn't, and that's for good reason. Only, like, real, gritty movie
Like
buffs.
I would call
really
like people
those
who
two.
are pumping out, a movie every year kind of thing, mainstream, I would probably say Steven Spielberg. Honestly.
I think I would say maybe Ron Howard.
Yeah, Ron Howard is good.
He's really good.
He's also made some bad movies too, though. So
I think pretty much everybody that just pumps out movies is going to make a bad movie.
that's true. J.J. Abrams has made some bad movies.
Yeah.
I do like J.J. Abrams a lot, though.
Yeah. Before we get into like talking about your rap and stuff, why don't we go ahead and just get this freestyle going?
Let's do it.
All right. So I guess we'll introduce Zach a little bit here. Zach, you are a local rapper of Colorado Springs. You write all your own stuff. You're starting to get into making your own beats.
Yeah.
But we're going to put you on the spot today and force you to freestyle.
This is actually more impressive than Sway in the Morning.
Yeah.
Right.
We're like Sway in the Morning 2.0.
Like, like the 5 Fingers of Death? Like,
Yeah.
We're going to do 7. 7 fingers.
17.
You were doing, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Let's do it. Yo. Okay, I'll let it play a little bit. Zwilli. The lyrical come correct. Bitch. It's the Vulcan wearing, overdosing on never caring. I spit the truth and they say I'm daring. No, that's my pops. Homies basing on white, shy socks, 5'7" and a CJ major, but not a cop. Listen, you bitches can't even rap in the side of me. When I'm cutting no cap like a lobotomy. Shit as easy as Mormon and priest monogamies. And honestly, you probably full of shit like proctology. The most calming of the most common oddities. And I'm eating collard greens, schoolboy Q. The new me going to new boy you. Trying to fuck on Catalina and I'll do joy too. My name is Zwilli. Something special like that play in Philly. Nipping at the heels of the dogs. I call them all Achilles. And I ain't trying to take an L just to bounce back. Balling on the court, never asking where my foul at. The white, oh shit, I gotta breathe. Writing with a paper mate, sipping chai tea, or a Supreme's red box on a white tee. This white boy, shit, and I'm done.
Nice. Yeah.
I had it going, and then I came back and I realized what the fuck I was doing.
That's pretty good.
That was good. Yeah.
Don't worry, you're gonna look so much better after we
Yeah.
go.
So we're gonna have that cheerleader effect.
Oh man.
So wait.
dope.
So quick interlude. So where does everybody find your music?
Currently SoundCloud. I got.
What's your tag or whatever?
I got just rough cuts on there, and it's at only Zwilli.
And that's what,
only Zwilli. So you type in
Willie's with an
SoundCloud.com.
I, right?
Yes.
Just
Willi.
spell it all out for us real quick.
DA only ONLY Zwilli ZWILLI.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And that's got rough cuts on there. There's 3 or 4 of them. So for those of you that don't know what a rough cut is, it's basically just you get in there, you make the beat, and you rap on whatever stuff you have handy. There's no engineer coming to mix and master it. It's just raw sounding just how it sounds when you were rapping it in the studio. It's as simplified as it can get.
Almost like unmixed, pretty much?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Unmixed, unmastered. Yeah, it's that. And there's a couple reasons I do that. One because a lot of people pay for studio time by the hour. A lot of studios have studio time by the hour, and that really, I feel that really kind of hurts the creative process, because you're forced into a window of time. You can't just freely, just totally be creative and not have to worry about it, especially when you don't have a lot of money like I do, and you can't just be like, oh shit, I was here for 4 hours, let me pay for 4 hours. You're confined to that amount of time, and so that hurts, and you're really just trying to get down what you need to. And another thing is, if there are people who will go and will listen to that rough cut of me just spitting, they're going to recognize my rapping and what I have to say before the quality of the music. And those people are those are the people that are always going to appreciate what you drop regardless of how it sounds compared to the Drakes, the Kendrick Lamars, the J. Coles.
The people that appreciate like the substance that's there.
Yeah. And where I'm coming from. Whereas,
obviously,
if my first thing that I drop is some beautifully engineered, perfectly mixed and mastered piece of art, that's going to draw in a lot of other people, but those are going to be a lot of the face value people who like my shit.
People who listen to the radio, like, that shit.
And
it's not going to be like the actual, like the hip hop heads, the people who like in it for like the substance, the core of the music, the core of rap music.
And not to take anything away from those fans, because those are people who make up more than half of the streams of all of these huge artists, So those
They're
people
so
are
important.
Yeah, those are super important.
Of,
but
artist's career,
you're not gonna appeal to them from the jump. You need to appeal to your diehard, the fans that are gonna be your diehard fans years from now, right? And so that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to just make stuff that people are gonna be like, oh shit, this guy can rap. And we're going to follow him and see where he goes. Because that's how I found a lot of the guys that I found and the guys that I've listened to. And I actually appreciate them more than people who, I heard a song that was on the radio 50 times and finally gave it a listen. And I like them now. It's the difference between why I like dudes like Absol and Mick Jenkins more than like J. Cole. You know, who when I got hip to him, it was Forbidden Fruit, you know, and he was already blown the fuck up. Absol and Mick Jenkins, I heard them when, you know,
like
they were fucking...
Waters or Waves.
Yeah, they were...
For Mick Jenkins, Absol.
They were... Even now, they're not as appreciated as they should be, you know, and they haven't really...
Those are artists actually, like, super under...
Yeah, they haven't broken into that next level of, you know, mainstream status.
That's almost what's the most fun to really, like, enjoy those artists. Like, for me, like, listening to Logic a lot before he got popular... was
like the Young Sinatra...
The Young Sinatra mixtapes, which is, like... Yeah. I still prefer those to his new album, if we're being honest.
So in the end, though, it is because you think the quality of their music was different before they blew up. It's not that you wanted to be like unique in a sense and listen to. You weren't trying to be like hipster, I guess. Like you're not trying to just listen to stuff before it becomes popular. That's not exactly why it's fun. It's because the music is different, right? Like,
it's just a different vibe for a lot of it.
Yeah, that is true. There are a lot of people that they have just a truly. Like, I don't want to say unique, because a lot of rap sounds like a lot of other rap, but it's unique to them before they blow up and before they have to do what they feel they need to do, you know? And like that beginning, that's really just, I have total 100% complete creative freedom without any other voice inside or out telling me what the fuck I need to do. And a lot of times there is a difference. Logic is a big one. You know, dude was just rapping and had.
Yeah, if you listen to that Undeniable mixtape, the entire thing was like all this rap bars.
Yeah. Whereas now you've got these concept really albums and these pop and like gospel type of.
Yeah, which isn't bad. I really enjoy it. It's just he switched it up, and it's not bad. It's just what he wants to do. I'm not saying that he blew up and now he's playing out different music. It's just music he's interested in now.
Yeah. I mean, and before, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
But I tend to see. I love like wordplay and just bar for bar spitting with no breaks, no stops, and those types of songs usually come out before people blow up. So that's why I like a good one is Kool-Aid and Frozen Pizza by Mac Miller.
Of course.
The beat comes on, and the dude, Kool-Aid and Frozen Pizza, and then he just goes. And there's no chorus, there's no break, he's just rapping on the beat, and it makes you kind of, bounce your head and kind of get into it. And then he does that for like 2.5 minutes, and then he ends, and the beat just plays out. And that's it. There's nothing more to it.
Is there like a name for that kind of style? Is like a genre in itself, like a subgenre?
If there is, I don't know it. You always just kind of know it when you hear it.
Yeah.
And there's no bridges, there's no hooks, there's nothing like that. It's just rapping on the beat, and then they dropped it. And guys who are popular and who are mainstream don't do that. I don't know why. Maybe it's because there are a lot of people who don't like that. I'm the minority in that sense. I don't know.
Well, but people just really like choruses.
It is catchy. Repetition. The
and if you're looking for radio play and that,
you're not gonna find that.
That's not.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a lot of dudes do that when they're not as blown up. They're underground. Well, I don't even want to say underground because that's offensive to some people, some artists for some reason, but.
Yeah, like people who actually live on underground.
Yeah.
It's cultural appropriation.
But yeah, you find more of that when they're not.
I am offended.
But yeah, so. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's the reason why I don't want to use Absol or Mick Jenkins again. I'll use a different artist. It's the reason I'll listen to. I don't even know a good one, really. Like
there's only those two.
Only those two. I get okay.
Jaron Benton would be
Jaron Benton is a good one.
I think that's fair choice.
Scotty ATL, Self-Titled, Mark Battles. The reason I'll listen to those guys, even like Brother Ali, which is crazy because I feel like everybody knows who that is, but that dude is still super criminally underrated. I'll listen to those dudes before, or more often than the real big names, just because I prefer, more shit, and plus, like, better, more substantial rap, and plus, I can keep up mentally with it, like aside from like rap god Eminem speed, that supersonic speed, anything up to that, I can hear the bar and listen to it, analyze it, and break it down, and be done with that by the end of the next bar.
Yeah.
So I'm always doing that. Obviously, I don't pick up all of them. I think it's impossible to pick up the analyze and
get on like Rap Genius.
And
read the entire.
And
thing
even that I would say is that I wouldn't even consider that. I would consider that cheating. You're looking it up, but I think it's impossible to do it bar for bar within one listen. But I do pick up a lot of them, and when there's only so much you can get out of. Icy like whatever. I'm rapping about my car, whatever. I got all these hoes, whatever. And it's nothing. A lot of them, they're not creative. A lot of them aren't next level creative, I should say. Like, you can say my diamonds are icy or whatever. But I mean, majority of the time when I hear that, it's going to be a super simple simile or metaphor. And I'm just like, okay, that took no effort. I'm already waiting for the next one. And there are a lot of dudes that do that for 16 or 32 or however many bars they have, how many verses, and it's just, I'm not getting anything out of this. There's nothing that's like, oh shit, that was dope.
So what's important when you're consuming rap? Like, what elements...
For me?
Yeah, like, what elements do you find reach you in an emotional or like some sort of stimulating way that makes it so you listen to some of these artists and not others, and with that, once you've kind of described that a little bit, like, what kind of elements is important for you to create?
So
with
to answer the first half of that, saying something that truly relates to you with wordplay. Like, I'll give you an example. Absol, I don't know if I think it's Threatening Nature, that song. Either that or it's Now You Know, that song. He says, I'm still over dudes' heads like ceilings and bright ideas.
That's Threatening Nature.
Yeah. And that's true because the dude is stupid smart. And you see it in his rap over the previous X amount of mixtapes and the previous three albums before that. But then it's the wordplay. Over dudes' heads like ceilings, over your head, and bright ideas, the light. That's clever. That's clever. You're not going to hear anybody else say that. You're not going to hear these dudes.
It's unique. That's like a unique part. Like, he thought of that. That's not like you were saying earlier, and it wasn't going to come in, but ice on my wrist.
Yeah. That's easy. He thought of that in a clever, new way. That's one that stands out to me the most. If you have bars like that, then I'm gonna find you better than the dude who's making the catchiest, hooks, whatever.
And do you think, like, it being unique, that's kind of an old poetic trick to make it stick in your head? I mean, it's sort of the reason we've evolved to use an agulous language. I feel like because it's easier to describe even a concept or something to somebody, whatever, an idea, a concept, whatever the case. It's easier to describe it a lot of times with an analogy.
Absolutely.
It so quickly puts it in your head,
Yeah, and I definitely think that makes it easier to get across what you're getting across.
Or to remember, to stay in your mind.
Yeah, and that's the reason why Lil Wayne is my favorite artist, my favorite rapper ever. Because he is so clever with his wordplay. It's beautiful.
A lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah, no, a lot of people think he's just like this
they
dude
almost
who
refer to him as like the original mumble rapper.
Yeah,
that is not the case whatsoever.
Yeah, and his shit is stupid clever. Obviously, dude said real G's move in silence like lasagna. I know people who still don't understand that. And it's just, that's an iconic one. When he said, I still got division like the line between two dots. That's great. On his new album, he says, I said I will, like ill with an apostrophe. That's incredible. crazy, awesome wordplay. So he's up. That's the reason why he's my favorite, because it's just there's so much of that, and there's been so much of that for so long. He's still consistent, and he's still unique with the way that he does it. He's very rarely do you find him saying something in a way that he's said it before, or something similar. It doesn't happen very often. It does because you're using so many words in just one song, and dude drops a ridiculous amount of music. But very rarely, even still, do you find, well, this bar sounded like this bar in terms of everything that he said. The concepts are similar, because the concepts are always going to be similar because that's what you're living, and that's what you know. But the way that they attack those concepts and present them, for him, it's always different. And then to answer your second question, how does that help me and what do I look for when I'm creating? I got to give a huge shout out and a rest in peace to Mac Miller for this. Because that dude really showed me that you can go anywhere with the sound. You can jump from one sound to the other, and Travis Scott does this a lot too. You can jump from one sound to another effortlessly and just do it like super, just like that, within an instant. Just switch it the fuck up.
Kendrick is pretty good with it too.
Yeah, he does that too. But I learned the most from Mac Miller because it's a very intriguing way that he does it. He does it, the things that he goes to when he changes up his sound mid-song or whatever, it's him and it's only him.
He's like the conductor of where it's going.
Yeah, and it's really like, okay.
Once he moves the sound off album is really displays that.
It's like music. He goes somewhere that only he can go. It's almost like he is making every single sound and putting it together, putting it right where it needs to go. It's like he's doing all of it because of how it's really him in his music. When you hear the sound change, it's like, okay, this is Mac Miller. Yeah, this is where he is going, and you can feel him going there. And so I've been trying to do that. If I'm like, what, this sounds too basic, too flat, too what's the word I'm looking for here?
Mainstream.
Not really that, but predictable. This is too predictable. Yeah. Then I'll just go somewhere else with it.
Yeah. So fuck it. What came to mind actually, and I compare it to I obviously have more of a perspective of filmmaking and stuff. But what comes to mind with any sort of art form is that the best artists, the best filmmakers, the best musicians, their music feels like an act of pioneering. It's their individual pioneering. They're like you hear it and you're like, wow, I really haven't heard quite this before. Even if there's something that's similar, maybe
there's no this guy.
There's no that
or
that
this
art,
band or
that line, that bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Queen, Michael Jackson, Prince.
Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
Martin Scorsese.
You can pretty much go to any media, outlet, but yeah, there's
Michael
somebody
Bay.
in a field
Shut
of
the fuck up.
you have all of these, but there's that one that sticks out.
Little did you know, Michael Bay is not only the best director, but the best part-time rapper.
Oh my fucking
Part-time rapper.
Yeah, you ever heard his music?
It's actually his rap alias.
Michael Bay is his rap alias?
It's part-time rapper.
Oh, okay. It's actually pretty clever.
Well, yeah, Michael Bay came up with it himself, actually.
He raps about chugging beer and beating up nerds.
You gotta hear his collaboration with Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage. Oh my god.
Probably the best collab tape I've ever heard. Super hard to find though, very rare.
Speaking of collab tapes.
That sounds like just one fucking mess of words that did not receive any revisions or editing whatsoever. Just dude just fucking sitting there typing just random shit.
An intelligent monkey.
Excuse me, sir. Would you revise perfection? You don't. It doesn't work like that. They created a masterpiece.
Oh man.
Are we doing this again?
Alright, Tristan, you're doing this, yeah.
I'm nervous.
So how about we don't have a 30-second mark? We'll just pass it.
Okay.
Alright. Yeah. I like breakfast. You know, I'm doing blow up my French toast. All these foreign girls, I'm sucking on French toast.
Okay.
Oh, it's dirty. Oh yeah. Keep it rolling, bro.
Oh, it's dirty. Yeah, I don't know why your girl was at the club flirty. She wanted to take a peek at my birdie. Give it a peck. Yeah, cooking up that dope like curry.
Ooh.
Ready?
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm thinking about toast now, but what kind of toast?
Coma
Is
toast.
it white wheat pumpernickel? White wheat pumpernickel? White wheat pumpernickel? Which kind is it? White wheat pumpernickel? White wheat pumpernickel? Yeah, let's get this bread. But if I'm being honest, I'd be dead because I should be gluten free. So fuck this bread. I'ma go get do some lingerie. Yeah, take some pictures of some girls in lingerie. What about my name, Reddit? Everybody's trying to feed me some gold-plated spaghetti. That really wasn't on the beat, but whatever. Go ahead, Zwilli.
Visualizing skaters, the ponies, etnies, the flows painting pictures. Dostoevsky, test me. Your pen dry and it's no cap. Everybody be moving trees until they see sap. You been whacked like a mole out of order. Dab a quarter, see him? With a speaking disorder, laid out convulsing in the foyer. Dealer get him a lawyer. Appointed cause the fire be his only employer. Now take it.
Yeah. I've been trying to do this shit since I was 6. Rock hard on this bitch, you think I was the band Styx.
You think I was the band Styx? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
That's kind of tight. That's kind of
Everyone come up to me cause I'm the best. I'm like, chill, little puppy, don't fret. You know me, I walk around the beach, I'm the biggest catch that you'll ever see.
Zwilli left the room. Went to probably pee or maybe take a shit. What do we think? What is it? I think I'm gonna go bother him in the bathroom right now, baby. Let's see how he reacts when I walk in while his dick is out. I give him a heart attack. Hey, Zwilli, what are you doing? Oh, he heard me. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, going back to my chair. I didn't even get a peek at Zwilli underwear. I bet he's got some really narcissistic shit where his face is on the butt or maybe even the dick. That way when a girl eats him out, the last thing that she sees is his face. Now Tristen, take it.
You want me to take it, I take it,
Take
I
it.
live it all along.
Take it.
I got that new whip, that Subaru Legacy with the window tent. Everything I can clearly see.
I don't even know if I remember this one.
Alright. This beat's tight. Flipping through pages in my notebook just to cook next section of rhymes. They subjugate them in time. I read The Art of War, develop peace of mind, but I could never let my conscience recline. Now check it. I'll be slicker than... Oh, what? Okay. I'll be slicker than the ice when off of the ether. No experience, but I ain't say I'm off it either. Charge a feature that your mortgage just to port rid of. But a worth ain't got nothing on my holy Quran. I'll be willing and able to break free a rusted chain. Z cold thinking they see and turn my game. Go. Oh, let it breathe first. There you go.
Let it breathe. Yeah, everything is clear to me. Okay, I had something, but now I feel like I got that vocal writer's block. Shit, I think I'll need a pen or maybe some chalk. Yeah, to me, all the ladies flock. And I'd be riding on the high street down the block. The beat just chopped.
Okay, it's me now. Something. A veteran of homelessness. When I was on the street, I felt all this bliss, and I went to... this doesn't work.
I was ready for it.
Yeah, me too. I thought you were about to go.
That's expensive good shit. Okay.
This is not gonna work. Oh man, I can't tell you how many times I've fucking...
Yeah.
Wait.
So, I think this is interesting to me.
I
to
wonder
ask.
if people can feel the sarcasm. when they're listening to this.
Well, some of it will definitely be edited out, trust me. But yeah, probably. I mean, Tristan's all super mad.
But yeah, what were you gonna ask?
We need to start recording this one day. Like, the facial expressions add another fucking level.
Yeah, Chance was saying that he wants us to have a video, but
lots of people mentioned that.
Oh yeah, oh cool, yeah.
I said that when I first got here.
Oh nice, yeah. We'll definitely do that someday. I've got a good camera. Just gotta get some stuff to film for a long period of time because it ends after like so many minutes because I don't know. There's a few different things. But yeah, so I think this is something that interests me about any artist. I want to know why you think it's important, why art is important, that is, to consume and to create. Like, why is it part of our society, and what place does it have?
I mean, there are a lot of answers to that question. But I think it's just there are so many like unspoken rules of our society. You know? Like, you've got to do this by this age, you've got to act this way. There's so much shit that we feel the need to follow to be like a part of society, you know, to feel like we're one of everybody else. And that's an outlet to where you could just be you completely. You can do whatever you want, you know? It doesn't even just have to be music, you know? If that's a place where if you paint to like relieve stress, you can literally put any motherfucking thing on that canvas. You know, anything you want at all. It doesn't matter. You know, you can if you're like an individual with a lot of dark shit, you know, then you can put that shit on a canvas and nobody's going to say shit about it, you know? That's your outlet to get that out, you know? You can't always do this, you know, things like that. You can't project them onto normal society sometimes. People either resent it or they don't understand it, and so that just makes you look like an outcast.
But not all the time,
And
definitely.
not all the time.
Everybody consumes art in some way,
Right,
whatever medium.
but I think that's why it's important, because it's this way for these individuals or this band or this group or whatever to really show their truest self when they're not comfortable doing it out in regular society. You know? Like, I think that me in the studio as an artist or me rapping or whatever is a little bit different than me when I go and I socialize. You know? I use a lot of like jokes and laughter when I'm talking to people, you know, to always keep it kind of light. With the exception of this, you know, I'm just talking about whatever the fuck. I'm not really making jokes. I'm just having a straight conversation.
Well,
but
your outfit is a joke.
Fuck you.
You came in here with the fucking laugh. I'm just kidding. I like it.
Oh, that's
Especially
funny.
the shoes.
That's good. But, you know, I'll go in there and I'll make something different, you know? Like, I'll take a line that I wrote a few weeks ago. I said, words lit like boo carved in jack-o'-lanterns. Okay?
I like it.
If somebody brought up lit, something like that, and I said that, I was like boo carved in a jack-o'-lantern,
They would probably
they'd be
go,
like,
what the fuck are you talking
yeah,
about?
exactly. They'd be like,
That's
what the
probably-
fuck, dude?
It's not the context.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
just like small talk conversation. You're like,
Yeah.
well, here's this.
Hey,
Just drop this line.
lit. Yeah,
Yeah.
lit like boo carved in jack-lantern.
What the fuck?
What the
What?
fuck? Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Cool. And I
Yeah,
walked
see,
off.
whereas-
Like, if I'm being honest, like, if you were to say that to me, like, if I didn't know you, you said some shit like that to me at a party, and I'm fucked up, and be like,
You'd be like, you're a fucking dork, dude. Get out of my
it
face.
wouldn't be so much the dork. I'd be like, cool, man. Like, all right. And walk
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
Like,
That was,
like,
and you'd think like that was fucking
that
weird.
was
or
fucking weird.
awkward.
Like, I would, like, I probably wouldn't even, like, be able to fully process, like, what the fuck this dude's talking about right now.
Yeah, but
But
see,
if I hear it in the song, I'd be like, damn, that's pretty fucking clever.
yeah, I can say that in music, and everybody who gets that, it's gonna be like, yo, that was fucking tight.
Yeah,
That was cold.
At that point, it's simply just the context too. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
I can compare that to storytelling. Obviously, it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you know we don't have the same kind of drama that's in the day to day that's in the day to day in a movie. If
Right.
it was like that, that would be
It would be miserable,
it'd be miserable.
you know?
Life would be fucking rough, man.
Yeah, yeah.
But in a movie in that context, you don't question it. You're able to it's like we're trained now to suspend our disbelief and just like throw ourselves in the story, you know,
and I think it's another way to kind of to feel like you're doing something even at your lowest points, you know?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if
give you some sort of purpose.
Yeah, you know, even if you're fucking nothing is going your way, you're homeless, your fucking girlfriend left you, or boyfriend, or whatever, they left you, you have nothing.
This is in the same day?
Sure, man, to make it even worse. Yeah, that happened, right? You can still, you know, you can grab a pen and paper and just like, you know, think of a beat or a cadence. I relate to rap because that's what I do, you know, and you can sit there and you can write lyrics, you can write a rap, and you feel like, wow, I just did that, that's cool, that's clever, and then you can forget about all that shit.
Or at least you know? maybe not always forget, but I think one of the biggest values about entertainment in general, even shitty entertainment, if you can just escape for a little bit, then it's worth something, and you get that from consuming or creating. But with creating, you feel like you're a bigger part of something, you know, because you're giving that to people.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like, you ever sit down and obviously it's important to do it for yourself a lot, you know, like to be selfish in your creativity and to tell your story or what's immediately around you. But do you ever think about like what you're doing for other people? Does that give you a sense of purpose?
Yeah, I think that's not one of my main focuses
priority
now, just because of where I'm at with it, you know. I still feel like that's not where I need to be going. I need to first show my skill set with this art, so that way
you're prioritizing the craft.
Yeah, that way I get people to want to listen, to want to come back, and then along a little ways down the road, that's when I start doing that, when I've already got people's attention, you know, because I mean think of
story.
Yeah, think about like this, you know, if let's take the Logic's 1-800 song, right, about suicide awareness. If you're suicidal, you're not going to go to somebody you don't know and you don't give a shit about and talk to them and take their advice on, you know, suicide. You know, you're going to listen to somebody that you trust and you feel connected with. So I'm not going to, you know, sit down and write a song to help other people, like, specifically, you know.
Yeah.
Not because I don't want to,
See,
but because
I'm not talking about it in a direct way,
people,
though, necessarily.
A lot of people aren't going to... They're going to be like, oh, this random dude is really relating to me, and he's talking about suicide, so I'm just not going to kill myself. You know, that's a really drastic fucking example. Probably rife with inaccuracies. But, you know, you get the idea, right?
I guess part of, maybe not the confusion, but some sort of miscommunication there is that what I'm talking about is a little less direct than just like the message or the theme you're trying to send out. I'm not saying, do you think about, you know, sending out a specific message to people to relate to. I'm saying, do you ever think about, or a better way to put it is, do you think about the value that being an entertainer has, to some degree, has on the, on just society, on people, like, because again, even like watching a shitty movie or listening to music that doesn't reach you in some way, like maybe you're just listening to instrumental music to calm down and not feel so stressed. There's value in just entertainment inherently, and I feel like it's kind of a byproduct of us like domesticating as humans and us, you know, finding stress in smaller things. It's sort of that sort of a phenomenon kind of prescribed us to. It prescribes the movement of entertainment, and there's like this value in calming ourselves down, escaping from our day-to-day lives. You know, it's like we're not chasing boars anymore. We're not having to kill giant animals to eat, you know, and now our problems are a lot different, and there's so many more of them. Mm-hmm. So maybe like entertainment came out of that. And I guess to bring it all to come full circle, yeah, like do you ever get like a nice sense of purpose from doing entertainment?
Oh, absolutely. Like, especially I'll go on for example, when 47 came out, people were playing that shit in South Korea. Like, what the fuck? What? You know, and that shows that that tells me that there are people, and it was a lot of fucking plays, that tells me
over
like
10K, right?
yeah, just over. Oh man, that still gets me hyped. But anyway, back to your question.
I can see the excitement. Cause that's a milestone. That's a milestone.
Yes.
Congratulations, by the
Thank
way.
you.
That is pretty
Thank you.
fucking impressive.
I think
we're lucky we get 100 views on this fucking podcast.
Wait. So what happened?
a song of mine with I don't know if you remember Imani Dominic, Sensei B Dub, Bree Dominic, little short girl.
Oh yeah, I heard that one.
Yeah. That's over 10,000 plays.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow! Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Thank you. But fuck, let's not. I'm not here to fucking boost my ego.
Right now in your head, right on your head, you're stuck on congratulating yourself.
I think it does provide me with a sense of purpose when I know that people are going to not only just my shit, but other music as an outlet, because it shows that you're relatable, to an extent, if they're listening like that, if they're really listening to your stuff. And that provides that, I feel like that gives both parties a sense of purpose. It gives the artist a sense of purpose because it's like, okay, I'm providing these people with, if it's just something as simple as an escape, or if they're truly connecting with me, and they understand. And then also it provides that person, that the audience, each and every individual, with a sense of purpose, because they're like, okay, I'm really not alone, if they relate to something that we as artists say.
Yeah, I'm glad that rap is spreading, and just music in general, it's spreading around like all different types of cultures, all genres. There's like a different culture for every genre now. If that's not a good way to put it, but if that makes sense, like rap being just like a black thing for so long, it was like and specifically like urban, like black music, and it was. I don't know, it's really interesting to me as like more and more rap is being made, like you're noticing like like all that old school rap, it was telling like a very similar story. It's like, unfortunately it's a lot of like, a lot of guys coming from like poor areas.
Yeah, negative environments.
Yeah, but the thing is like that music is still valuable because there's still a lot of people in those types of things, but it's also interesting to look at specific artists who came from that, and their music does change as they get out of that. They get out of poverty, and they're starting to hang around with a lot of rich white folks. And the music is going to inevitably be different because they're telling a different story now. And that kind of brings me to another thing. Like I've been curious, like what kind of stories do you feel like you'll be telling with your music? Because you didn't come from poverty, so you have to come at rap in a different way.
I have another question to add to that. Do you feel almost like you're kind of an outsider trying to step into this game with a different background?
I don't think, to answer that, well, I guess this kind of answers both of them. I don't really feel that way because I don't really see it as a disadvantage. First thing I do is I see it as a blessing because I didn't have to deal with that. I didn't have to overcome these obstacles as a kid that kids shouldn't have to go through. I mean,
you're privileged.
Yeah. And when I was young, we didn't have a lot of money. My dad was, staff sergeant, tech sergeant, supporting a family of 4. We didn't have money. I can't tell you how many times I heard, "Oh, no, we can't get you that," or whatever. But I would never even go as far as to say I was broke or I was in poverty, because I wasn't. We still had
not starving.
We had all of the essentials and we had plenty of them. But so it's not like I have no idea what it's like to not get shit, because I do. But it was very materialistic.
It's a very different.
And it's very different. So I think it doesn't really. It doesn't really affect me. I feel like while that might be easier to rap about, because if I had gone through that, because all of these other people have shown me how to do that, I think that not going through that and having to find more like internal problems and rap about other problems, other issues, is just going to help my creativity and how unique my music is.
Yeah, honestly, I never looked at it as even possibly being a disadvantage. Like, as you said, if anything, it's being comfortable always makes it easier to create, you know.
Yeah,
So
and-
so what I guess a better way to kind of to guide that is what are some specific things that you want to talk about? It doesn't have to be like a specific thing that happened to you, the story, but it's like, are you trying to encompass like your emotions through your rap? Because I feel like there is more to your music than just like the wordplay and stuff,
Right.
or maybe not
Yeah.
just that, but the source of like that wordplay and why you feel compelled to rap about certain things. I don't know. It's just an interesting. I guess I'm kind of asking about like early stages of your process. You know, like where does it come from? Do you think?
So I don't. I'm kind of holding off on really just diving into very emotionally charged rapping. You know, like I don't want to tell any parts of me that are really specific and influential and really have made me into who I am, because my audience is still so small. You know, I want to the biggest stories that I have, you know, that have the most life-changing stories that I have up here, I don't want to put it down right now because
You don't have all the tools yet, or
yeah,
the
yeah,
audience?
I can without a doubt get better, and I want to save those stories for a big audience. You know,
Yeah.
and a lot of times when I think of that, I think of Duckworth on Kendrick Lamar's Damn album. I don't know if you've heard that song, but dude basically talks about his dad, and his dad was working basically at a KFC, and they got robbed at gunpoint, and he was giving the kids who robbed them extra biscuits and free chicken and stuff for a long time before they robbed it. And they robbed it and saw him working there and didn't kill him. They spared his life. And then that guy, the robber, ended up being the manager of Kendrick Lamar's label now.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then
so, he
waited like 3 albums,
Yeah.
mixtapes, numerous mixtapes
Yeah.
before he ever released.
Yeah,
that's
and you
nice.
know, and that's crazy. That's something nobody knew. You know, he saved that story
Yeah.
for the right time, and that's something I want to do. You know, there are a lot of things that I could rap about that I could turn into a story that's true about me. You know, but I want to save it for when.
You're gonna let it cook for a while.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I totally relate in the sense that like literally there's multiple, but there's one that really comes to mind. I've always had this spec script idea, like a full length that I really want to make, but every time I try to write it, even just try to outline it, I have this like overwhelming like emotional and intellectual sense of I'm not ready. I need to be a better writer. I need to be ready to tell this story later on. I need more context. And this is like a stereotype I try not to cling on to with writing, but I think I need a little bit more wisdom to tell this story. I don't do that with most things. I try to write it, like generally that's an excuse that writers tell themselves, like I need to like, you know, age more and get more wisdom, but some stories
That's
actually
when
feel
you
like
really
that.
feel like I should hold off.
Yeah, so
And if you feel like you should hold off, then you probably should. Yeah.
well, I mean, yeah, it's sort of an internal thing you got to wrestle with because you might just be being a pussy and not, you know, just not doing it. But my question is,
I'm sorry, I won't cut you off. I've had a question though. I want to circle back real quick. I'm so sorry, but I just wanted to ask, just to go back before we get even more off topic from before about the background situation and everything. It was just do you feel like others might look at you, and discard your music, discard the talent and the quality you're putting out simply because of your background?
Yeah, maybe. But I mean, that doesn't really bother me because I wasn't gonna relate to those people anyway, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of people that are just closed-minded. They're always gonna be closed-minded, you know. There's a reason people dislike. There's a reason people dislike Eminem.
Yeah.
You know, there's a reason people dislike J. Cole. There's a reason people dislike the Migos. There's a reason people dislike, you know, all of these people, and it's because of a certain thing. You know, G-Eazy is another big one, just because he's fucking white.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, you could, at the end of the day, you could be the best, absolute best rapper, but if people don't relate to the things you're saying, they're going to choose somebody that they relate to more, you know?
Mm-hmm. It is really lyrically driven too.
Yeah. And so that I think it is people are going to shrug me off, but as I mature and improve and get more sonically based, I think I'll be accepted more. You know, I mean, let's take Mac Miller, for example.
Yeah.
Dude made what people call frat rap before, you know,
Yeah.
and it wasn't...
Just the sound of that sounds awful.
It wasn't as embraced, you know, as Good AM or Swimming was. Those are considered just beautiful pieces of art, you know, by
Good
a majority,
albums,
you know,
I
a
think.
majority. And it's because he improved, he matured. He started talking
those
about...
both go platinum, or was it just gold? I feel like they were
I think Good AM's platinum and Swimming is gold. I think, I'm not sure.
You'd
have to look that up.
We need a fact checker up there.
Yeah, you'd have to look that up. Actually, you know what? I can do it right now. But I think it does have... People are going to look at me different from the start. Maybe even the whole time. I don't know. It doesn't
yeah, I
really...
mean,
it's not something I dwell on.
There's always
because
going
I
to be
can't...
people that dislike your music, but I mean...
Yeah, there's nothing I can do about it, so... You know, I'm just going to do and make the music that I want to make. You know, and at the end of the day, whoever feels me is going to listen to it.
Do you ever get that feeling? Like, do you get your pen to the paper sometimes and you start writing something, maybe you're very excited about it, and suddenly you stop and you realize, like, nope, this is for later? And if so, like, how often does that happen?
I do that, but it's more... I'll write something, and when I tell myself this is for later, it won't be later down the road. It'll just be later as in, like, a few days or a week later when when I've got more creativity, you know, in the bank. I'm not burnt out, you know. Pretty much everything that... I don't ever start writing something and think, no, this is for later, years later, you know.
Yeah,
I know...
okay.
I already know all of those things. You know, I know all of the topics that I'm saving for later because I need to get better.
Okay, so
You know,
so what you're saying
that's
is,
happened
like,
to me now.
So
Anyway.
so before that process even happens, like where I was talking about with me, where sometimes I get an idea and I even flesh it out a bit, and then I go to outline it, and then I'm like, oh wait, no. So what you're saying is you don't even get to that point because you already have, like, a precaution in your head.
Yeah.
That, like, you already have, like, the list in the back of your head that tells
Yeah.
you, like, oh yeah, I'm not going to talk about this that happened to me, or when, you know,
Yes.
when this happened. And,
Yeah.
okay.
And usually, I'll write something and then I'll go back to it a couple days later, just so that way, because I know if I can tell when I'm writing something and I know it's not my best work. I'll write 2 or 3 lines or say 2 or 3 things, and I'm like, I could say this better. And then I'll quit and I'll come back to it maybe the next day or 2 days later or something. And I'll revise it and I'll say it better. And it'll just come naturally. It won't be like I'm sitting there trying to figure out. It'll just come naturally and it'll be better because I'm, you know, more engaged, whether it be I'm more stimulated, more awake, you know.
Do you enjoy that part of the craft, though, like figuring out the problems in something, like
Oh yeah, yeah.
like,
One of
like sometimes like a bar doesn't work, and you're like, man, what is it about this? And then it's just like it's maybe just like the cadence needs to change, or a syllable, or just the word needs to be scrapped, and something completely different needs to be put in there. Like you have parts of the process that are like that. It's like problem solving.
Oh yeah, that's probably my favorite part. You know, it's kind of like
Yeah.
it's like doing a Sudoku puzzle or like a Rubik's cube or something.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Because like you're trying to figure this out, and it's good, but it's not. You can do better, you
Yeah,
know. And so
you're
I
just
like trying to figure that
contemplation
out.
of it,
Yeah, and especially more so the flow, because you know if you have to change a word, that's relatively easy because it just breaks down into syllables.
But it's
you
like
know?
if the poetry's there but the flow isn't working, it's probably
Yes.
most easily detected. Like to
Yeah.
be wrong, the flow
Yeah.
that is.
Yeah, and that's my favorite part because
Well, then you get to spit it a lot over
Yeah,
and over
yeah,
and just
and-
work it.
Yeah.
and they're very subtle things that I recognize whenever I'm saying it, but some others might not. You know, until it's done and it's totally changed. You know, I might spit something like this, but then when it's done, I'll spit it like this. You know, with a pause or something.
Yeah.
Or I'll put the cadence on whenever I'm writing longer pieces, like I'm writing something and I write it down and it fills 2 or 3 or sometimes even 4 of the bars in the music, then that I can find different ways to enunciate and put the cadence and the emphasis on different words to make it come off a little bit different. And then that makes what's the phrase? I think I know it, but
So Zach's his own fact checker today. Just to let the audience know. He's checking his own shit right now. He's making sure he's right.
yes, enjambment, that makes that easier and almost effortless. And enjambment is when you continue a sentence in verse without a pause beyond the end of the line.
Okay.
So one line bleeds into the next.
Yes, and like when
So run-on sentences.
the most obvious is when you'll hear in terms of rap, you'll hear a rapper say something and then it'll go to the next measure, and then the first word will be the rhyming word.
Uh-huh.
And then it'll go to the next bar and it'll be off.
Yeah.
And
They
when
offset the rhymes, basically.
yeah, and they do that on purpose. It's not like, oh, they were ahead or really they were behind the music. They do that on purpose, you know. And writing longer. I don't want to say words, but putting down thoughts that are longer than your just average, you know, 1 bar and then go to the next and say something different, you know. Things that are longer, if you change the way you say it or the placement of the words or how many syllables you have within that little 4 beats, that makes it way more creative and it makes it way more fun. You can really play around with it more.
Yeah.
So really, to circle back and answer your question, that's one of my favorite parts. Is coming up. It's like trying to figure out how it goes together.
Have you ever had like an internal struggle with that where, because like one of my favorite parts of anything I do is like that problem solving part, because the way that I look at it with like writing is it's much harder to just stare at a white page and try to fill that all out than when you finish it you can go back and revise it, and then it's like, oh, now I have problems to solve. I can see these problems and I can just solve them instead of like make something from nothing. Yeah. So what I'm wondering is that because I have this struggle sometimes, and I know they're different mediums, but I will sometimes, you know, read books and I'll study the craft. I'll watch a lot of films, break it down, like how maybe you might break down rappers, and it sounds like you've done some studying about like theory, if that makes sense, you know, or maybe you've invented your own like observations of music theory that pertains to rap. But what I'm wondering is like, do you ever feel like maybe you're like focusing too much on the theory of the craft, and do you feel like are you ever worried that that'll interfere with just your pure artistic, what am I trying to say here? Like just the purely artistic elements of yourself? Like, does that ever happen to you?
Yeah, I do. And then, that's a huge reason why I don't write on beat. Like, I don't write with a beat. I don't listen to music. Or I don't put on an
instrument. You write the
instrument.
poetry first.
Yeah,
and then
I write that
put
first,
it over
and then I either fit it to a beat, or I build the beat based on the flow of the words that I've written down.
Because that way, when you have it written and you're spinning in your head, you can almost kind of imagine what kind of sounds you want for it.
Yep. And then I'll build that sound around it, you know, to make sure that it fits the feeling that I'm bringing forth.
Your poetry, you know, your words, your devices you're using, that's the core of your music. You don't want the beat to be the core. You don't want to build words around your beat. You want a beat around your words.
Yes.
That's the amplifier, not the other way around.
So I make that's one of the big reasons why I just write in silence, because I don't want to compromise any of the things that I'm saying simply because the music won't allow it. Because I don't even think that's that shouldn't even be a thing.
Yeah, like you're worried about staying in the confines of a beat or a system that you believe you should stay in when you're writing. Like these lines that you should color into, you know.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, yeah. So I try not to. When I'm writing, I don't listen to music now. It's a little bit different when you're with other artists in the studio, because you've got a whole bunch of different ideas bouncing around the room from different perspectives, and sometimes you're just kind of thrown into that space, you know, and that's happening now, you know. You're vibing with this person, and it's like, okay, let's fucking do this. I like this beat, he likes this beat, let's go from here. And that's different, but in that case, I definitely do not write my best shit when I'm in there doing that.
So
I'll never be going back and forth with somebody and then write a story about my life because I was in there, you know, just fucking around with somebody and we like this same beat. That's not going to happen because it's not going to come out as good as if I were by myself just writing with no music.
So my question was, you've made some collabs, a couple of them. Were those verses that you have written before you went in, or those are verses you written in the studio, you were with a dude, and it was vibing, and those kind of songs you get out? Or is it just kind of like different, every song is different, some are some you've pre-written, some are you've done in the studio?
So, every interaction is different, but the two that are on SoundCloud, 47, the two verses in there, and the two verses in Crucifix. 47, both of those were written beforehand.
Your verses, that is.
Yes. Sensei on 47, that one was also written beforehand. But our concept was pretty basic. We both just wanted to...
A lyrical flex.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Really. Just... You know, say a lot.
So that one kind of worked together because I was going to ask, if you both go in with pre-written verses and kind of a different style, which almost shows on the song with Wesley, you were both rapping about completely different things, almost in Crucifix.
Pikachu, let me be with you. That wasn't you. That was the other guy.
But yes, so 47, those were all three of those verses were pre-written, and you can definitely recognize that in the third verse when I explain some of the meaning behind the reasoning for writing Jackson, which is the first song I ever put on SoundCloud. It's not on there anymore. Mm-hmm. But the third verse kind of explains that, and I can only capture that when I'm writing it. Yeah. You know, that's
if you were to
something
go in
like
the
that.
And try and bounce off somebody, you're not going to be talking about, this is the time I wrote this song.
Yeah. No, that's not going to happen. Uh-huh. So those were pre-written. The one with Wes, the first. So the way that whole thing got put together was Wes sent this beat. I went to the studio, was going to meet him there, and then he couldn't come. So I think either that or I got there way earlier before him, and I didn't want to just waste time. I laid down a verse, and then either the following week or however amount of time, he came in, and he was gonna rap something. We hadn't discussed what we had, but I had a verse, and then he came in with a written verse. That's why it's so different, because we had them written down. They weren't.
That was a written verse?
His?
Yeah.
I believe so, yeah. He didn't go in with a pen and paper or nothing, but I'd imagine it was on his phone. I think it was written. I'm not sure though. But then I came in before he even laid that down. I re-listened to what I rapped and didn't like it and scrapped it. So yeah, it must have been a completely different time. Must have been a completely different day. Because I went back to it and I was like, no, I don't like that. So I scrapped like 3/4 of it, and then I went and I found a throwaway verse. I was flipping through this notebook of nothing but throwaway verses, and I was just like listening to the beat, trying to put get a flow right for one of them that stayed consistent, and that would be
out for you.
relatively easy to switch up.
To translate into it.
Yeah. If like a line was too long, because there are some lines that the flow is so complex that it changes so at such crucial points that you can't put it on any beat. Mm-hmm. You just have to know how it goes and build around it.
Yeah.
So I was looking through for throwaways. I found one, and then I laid that down, and that's what you hear now on that song that's on SoundCloud. And then then Wes did that, his part, and we put that in the middle.
So your verse, if I remember the song correctly, you came in with about like 4 bars.
Yep, and then there was the scratch, and it was like a rewind back to the beginning, and then Wes went,
and you went in after. Was that the same verse? Just broke in.
No, so before, so we always had it that beginning. We always had the idea that it was that, or at least I did, that beginning, that scratch, Wes would go, and then the second part was going to be at the end, like how it is now. Mm-hmm. But that second part of my verse, that is different. That's a different throwaway verse.
Okay, so you just
the beginning one, the first time I recorded it, that was different. Mm-hmm. I went back and I listened to it and I didn't like it. I kept the first 4 bars.
Oh, those were the bars from the original
from the original one.
Okay.
Yeah. And then obviously I laid down the other shit that I wrote with it. Didn't like it, scrapped it, flipped through my notebook, went and found a throwaway that I knew I wasn't going to use, but I wasn't going to just completely throw away. I wasn't just going to never use it. I was going to lay it down at some point. So I was like, well, now's as good a time as any, so I laid it down there. And that was the first time I really changed my pitch. It mid rapping.
So was Wesley's verses, did that contribute to the verse that you chose, to like the throwaway verse that you chose to put on that? No,
I was just it was really just me. It was just I don't like that.
You critiqued yourself.
Yeah. I was like, I don't like that. Get rid of that. And so then I went and found one that I was like, I liked, and one that I knew I was going to use at some point, but that didn't really have any meaning. It was just a lot of bars. So I was like, well, that's what this song is. I'm not going to lay down any meaningful shit because I didn't even make this beat. It's not like I can go and make money off of this, or sell it or project it to, somebody who's, it's a SoundCloud song, really. Yeah. And those were SoundCloud bars. So I was like, you know what, we'll put this here, and it ended up working out because I could put the flow how I wanted it to, and it fit the beat. So
just one more, kind of for both of you, considering you both really look your creative outlooks. I mean, obviously you serve different mediums, but how do you cope and deal with writer's block? Do you get writer's block, and what's your process to breaking through?
Yes, I get writer's block, and I fucking hate it. Oh, it's worse. It's terrible.
Not of agreement.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
It's fucking awful, dude. It's like the equivalent of simultaneously stepping on a Lego and stubbing your toe at the same time. Imagine that. Simultaneously like that.
I feel like I just feel it less intensely now because it's just like I've accepted it as part of the process. But what I do get frustrated with is when people say they don't ever get writer's block. I'm like,
that's just about
because the first thing I think is, well, then you must not write even close to every day, or even
either that or you don't do it creatively. You don't tap into your creative outlet and do it like that. You just write to write.
Yeah, again, the hardest part.
Words on paper.
Yeah, I can sit and you can give me a topic and I can write about it and write like an essay or something any time, pretty much any day of the week. But if you tell me if it's more creative, I'm definitely gonna get writer's block at some point.
Yeah.
It's almost like an unavoidable fact of creative writing in any sense.
And it comes from different sources too. Like sometimes it's purely like, I don't know, and this is where it does differ for mediums too, but one thing that causes writer's block for me is just that writing fiction, like a fictional story, it's funny to talk about, but it's so daunting in the moment when you're writing fiction, and then you realize this is all fake, it's fiction, and then you just lose any sense of tangibility. Like it's not in your hands. It's like in thin air. It's like, oh fuck, this is all fake. Why am I doing this? Am I a loser? Is this what I amounted to? I'm just writing about fake people. Am I crazy? There are voices in my head. What is going on here? And so it's like, and then you have an existential crisis. You take a bath and.
Is that what you do?
No, not always. Sometimes it's usually a shower, but
it's usually a shower.
But yeah, it's like so it can come from something like weirdly psychological like that, but also just burnout is real. Mm-hmm. You know, like everybody has a real mental capability. It's like if you've been doing something every day, especially, and you're balancing that with your work life, your social life, jacking off, playing video games, whatever the case.
Because it takes a whole lot of mental.
At least a few hours
to jerk off.
Yeah.
At least a few hours.
the way that I do it, man. The way that I can show you, it's
Listen,
off the air.
Not strictly jacking off. It's finding the proper video, getting the mode, the mood set, setting the lighting in the room.
Yeah. No. So writer's block can come from so many different things, and
it can also come from maybe things happening outside of the writing, things happen at home or
circumstantially.
At work. Yeah, you're like maybe somebody pissed you off at work, and now you want to go write, and you're just in a bad mood. And it's
so when I say that, it's just become part of the process, and why I feel it less intensely now is because I've dealt with, I have to be tough and force myself to write now, even when circumstances aren't great, you know, and that was and it felt impossible to me when I was homeless and I was just living out of my car and stuff, and I couldn't get comfortable and now it's like, but I'll start with your perspective first of all, especially since you're doing something that I would consider pretty ambitious. Like you are going to college and you're doing forensics and you have a straight career there, but I'm guessing you do have ambitious goals with rap and like everybody, you kind of bounce around with different ideas in the past. Obviously, that's just part of growing up. No one really knows what they want to do. We all go through existential crisis periods, but I'm curious, how do you feel now about giving up certain things in the past, making compromises, and ending up where you are now? Do you feel like you do you feel pretty satisfied with everything? Is there regrets? Do you wish certain things went differently?
No, I don't really have any regrets. I mean,
was anything hard to give up? Because I know you used to do sports and stuff, and
you also stopped smoking weed pretty much, almost entirely.
Yeah, no, entirely. I don't do it at all anymore.
That's cool. I don't either.
When I sent you that picture after something happened, I actually ended up throwing that.
Seahawks game.
Yeah, I ended up throwing that blunt away.
Really?
I didn't even smoke that. Nope.
Wow.
It was like an hour later, and I was like, nah, fuck this. I don't even need to smoke this. I threw it in the toilet. But no, it hasn't. I haven't really had any regrets.
But was there any growing pains? Is a better way to put it.
I mean, I do wish I had not fucked around as much as I did junior and senior year.
Sexually, you mean?
No. I wish I'd done more of that.
Oh, okay.
No, but
homosexual.
So, fucking
no.
My grade. Shut up! You're distracting me. My grades definitely took a dip, and so did my GPA. And that's why I'm going to a Division II school and not a Division I school. And I'd rather be going to a Division I school because they have a lot more programs. They have better programs. I think had I gotten into Washington State, I would be doing something totally different because I wanted to go there for zoology. Because we don't. They have a zoology program. I didn't get in up there, so I was like, well, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I ended up getting into. I only applied to 4 schools: that, Colorado State University, CSU Pueblo, and UCCS. And I got into CSU Pueblo and UCCS. So I was like, well, I can commute to UCCS. I can stay at home. I can stay comfortable. I don't gotta move. So I was like, let's do that. So that's what I did. I stayed here. And I would rather be totally we're in a different state, a totally different environment.
And why is that?
Just because, new change of pace.
Yeah.
My whole life has been like that.
And with radical change, oftentimes comes radical growth.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
and
was
that's
talking
appealing.
to Jen about the same thing the other day because I haven't said that I actually did buy a new car on Tuesday.
Oh, really?
I just traded my own one and got some of the older driving. And I was just talking about it. It's nothing special, but I was talking to Jen and saying like, sometimes you just need to change the scenery or change the pace, and that will spark new habits, new inspirations, and stuff like that. So one change in your life, something even small, is something that can like spawn a whole chain of or tangent of like new things that you're interested in. So like you're saying, a radical change could be a radical change again. I don't remember the quote.
Well, a good thing to remember, we talked about, I think in the Chance episode, I was talking a little bit about keystone habits and just keystone changes in general. Keystone has like the foundation of something or the center. Mm-hmm. So it's like,
I
sometimes...
think it might have been just you and me, actually.
Oh, it might have been, yeah. But if you just... Sometimes you need to find a habit or do something like change your environment entirely to set you on a desirable path. Sometimes, again, it's just kind of summing it up. Sometimes you do need to change something big to set you off, so... But I mean, it seems like things are working out pretty good for you again. It's like there's definitely value, if not equal value, in finding a little bit of comfort right now to get more comfortable in your craft and to save a little bit of money and stuff. Are you working right now?
I'm just going to school, and that is a blessing and a curse one, because that's a lot more time I have to myself. And that is, like I said, a blessing and a curse. I'm not spending 6 or 8 hours a day at a job, but that's 6 or 8 hours now I have to occupy my time. And it really helps because I can be more studious. I can knock out a lot of homework, especially now. Now that I'm back and my second semester started, I can knock out more homework. I could study more. I can write more lyrics and think about music and stuff more. But at the end of the day, I'm not bringing in any money, so
you're not bringing in any money, and you're not going through certain experiences that actually might be beneficial to you creatively.
Right.
Something that people always say about any sort of writer, whether it's of music or stories or whatever, is that you should live an interesting life. You should go out there and do stuff, and that's one of my biggest concerns with myself right now, because I've been accidentally and sometimes purposefully isolated lately, and it's like it's easy to convince yourself you're being as productive as you can be when you on your days off of work or school, and you're just staying home and you're like, oh yeah, I can just write today, or I can just do this and stuff. But it's like, oh yeah, but if you're not living some interesting experiences, you're really not going to optimize yourself creatively or intellectually.
Yeah, and I guess it is kind of my fault too, because I do have jobs that I can go and I can immediately start if I wanted to, but they're shit I've already done. Like I've still...
It's nothing new.
Yeah. And so I left that for a reason. I don't want to go back, so I'm looking for something different, and that's.
I kind of feel like you always have to be progressing in a sense. Like
yes.
Yeah. I'm obsessed with that too.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry if I say this sometimes. I realize now, and with podcasting, I've learned that I always feel like I have to make some sort of connection with the guests to talk to them, and there's another one, is that like you're pretty obsessed with progression. You can't really go back to places that you once were, and then you really are pretty convinced that there was a reason that you can't go back. There's a reason that you left. That's really compelling to me. I don't know, because like I've wrestled with that, and it's another one of those things that I try to look at conversely as well. I try to go, okay, wait a minute, am I doing that because I'm just scared of going back to something for an irrational reason, or am I really like rational and being deliberate and not going back?
Yeah, and that's one of the hardest parts, because you may see you may have all of these pros, that's keeping you in one place, or all of these cons that's keeping you from going back there, but you're blind to the opposite of that, Like, there could be something that you were doing that had a lot of benefits, but you didn't really really feel them, so you won't go back there, whereas that you might be able to, and really for some reason you weren't getting those benefits for whatever reason. And you could be wrong, you know? You could be wrong about a decision that you made. And I think it's really just about the amount of time that you may or may not spend doing something.
It's hard for me to find that line, though, of should I go back or shouldn't I? Am I making the right decision? Because something that helps shed light on this is that this isn't just with jobs, because we're talking in the context of jobs, but I view this with people too. Like recently I had this big falling out with a friend, and it's the same kind of thing as like with a job. It's like maybe you don't have a job and you're like, man, I kind of feel like I should go back to this job or this person. Like I could be making money, I could be socializing more. I'll try to stick on one thing at a time, but it's like, it's interesting that I feel like I'm wrestling with the same thing with different aspects of life, with people, with jobs, just all types of opportunities. It's like, I don't know. It's hard for me to find that line of knowing. Like, how do I know that I shouldn't go back to this thing? You know, it's like, because all I'm really trying to do when I wrestle with it in my head is I'm trying to rationalize all the reasons I shouldn't go back. But what concerns me is that usually what's causing me to lean off-center to the side of not going back than going back is that I'm afraid to go back. And that's just me, though. I feel like personally I instinctively want to run away from things that once harmed me or maybe multiple times harmed me. And instead of like confrontation and trying to change that outcome with a friend or a job, I'd rather just run away and never see them again or work at that place again. You know, maybe to find some common ground. Do you feel like that's you sometimes? Do you feel like you lean towards the side of not going back because you're afraid of it? Or does it come from something different, do you think? Like, do you think maybe you're driven by just, maybe it's an ego thing and you feel like I have to always be going forward. That's just me. You identify with that maybe. Those aren't the two options specifically.
Right,
those are two things in mind.
Yeah, I think, well, first off, every situation is different, you know, of course. Mm-hmm. But, I don't know, when I sit here and I think about if there were times where I was afraid to go back to something.
Or someone.
Yeah, or someone. And I can't think of one. But I can't sit here and say, oh, that's never been the case, you know? Because it might have been the case, and I didn't even realize it. You know, it might have been something it might have been there very deep down that I didn't even consider, you know?
Well, okay, so let's try to pull an example from something simple then, because you even said there's jobs you don't want to go back to, and you believe it's that, you know, something just wasn't working there. I don't know, maybe that's too clear. Maybe it's just like, it's pretty easy for you to go, yeah, I just don't want to go back because that sucked, but
yeah.
I feel like it is the most complicated with people, now that I think about it, you know, because people are so multi-dimensional, and it's like you may literally love something. Yeah, that's the thing. It's easier to love something about a person than it is about a job. You could fall in love with anybody, not just romantically, but, you know, as a friend or something, yeah. And it's like, the hardest thing for me with this sort of thing is sometimes I will love multiple things about a person, and it just seems like ultimately it never works. You know what I mean? Even with friendships, I've had to like give up friends at least. But then it's, especially when you're getting other people's perspectives and they're going, I don't know, man, maybe you're just running away from things. It just drives me crazy. I'm like, I don't know how to decipher me knowing that this is wrong for me, or am I just like trying to protect myself fundamentally?
It's almost like an instinct, you know? Like a natural instinct, like to yourself. Like, if people have senses about stuff. You can kind of have a sense and a feeling that can kind of tell you, like, that's what's good or what's bad for you, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, I love these qualities, but this instinct is telling me that it's not right for me.
Right.
But as much as I want it to be right for me, even if that's the case, and you may or may not, but if you do, you still have that feeling like this is wrong, and then if you try and fight that instinct, a lot of times it doesn't work out.
Right, but haven't you... Maybe not, but haven't you ever, like, given up on something prematurely in the past and then gone, okay, yeah, maybe maybe my instinct was wrong there. Maybe I'm responding irrationally. You know,
Yeah.
Maybe I am just running away from this. If that makes sense.
No, yeah, I felt that feeling before. I'm
Like
sure.
maybe I should have confronted them or something, or like at a job situation, maybe I could have talked to them and tried to make things better. Maybe I should have just asked for a raise, and then that would have made it work, or you know.
Yeah, that's like the benefit of hindsight, and like whatever the opposite
20/20.
benefit would be.
Hindsight's 20/20.
Yeah, that's kind of
Exactly.
learning. Yeah, I feel like that is how I've mostly. I think retrospection is definitely how I've learned the most from not doing these sort of things. But still, here I am stuck, and now I feel like I'm just using the podcast as a platform of therapy. Now this is quite sad, but I feel like I'm hitting something fundamentally, you know, here about people. Oh, that's just the theater.
I don't even think you're stuck, man. Because I think
Probably just something I'm always gonna
I
have to
think
wrestle
stuck
with.
is a common feeling for a lot of people, especially
Like-
people our age.
I feel like I'm just
yeah.
just deluded by delusional thinking that I'm ever gonna figure this out. And like you said it, Zach, it's always every situation's a little different, and maybe it's just gonna take a lot of like present thinking and present problem solving.
Yeah, I think it's just all of these things that you're going through. I think I don't want to be that fucking hippie douche that says everything happens for a reason or anything like that. But I think you
almost
can.
said that.
I think you can pull. There's a lesson in everything, you know. So, yeah, everybody makes mistakes, and there might be times where you did something that you kind of fucked up in, and you're like, oh, maybe I am running away, to use your term, or your phrase rather. But I think no matter what, you're going to get something out of that that's going to help you progress.
Yeah.
And then eventually you're going to recognize all of that, and you're going to have an idea of what it is that either was wrong with that at that time. Not only that, but how you can do it better, whatever it is, in the future.
What I'm learning right now in the moment is like, you know, as we're talking about it and the meaning and stuff, is if it's not working with somebody, at least right then and probably for the foreseeable future, it's just not going to work.
Yeah.
And so maybe what I should focus on, or people in general, is just preventing excess hassle. Because no matter what, it's going to kind of suck to split away from somebody or to quit a job or something. But I just can't always. Yeah, my biggest problem I'm realizing is I just always feel like I handled it incorrectly. Like I feel like I could have always handled it better. It's like, even though it's a shitty situation always to leave somebody, a friend, to drop somebody or drop a job, even though that always sucks, it's like I feel like I always escalate it instead of making it better. And then before, a younger Rhett would have just felt like a victim, like, oh, why am I doing it? Why am I being a good person and shit is like going badly? And now I'm thinking like, yeah, you know, it's probably just that I don't set up precautions, and I haven't really figured out how to handle like situations better. Like I don't know. Maybe it's always better to find some sort of resolution with somebody or a job before leaving them. Even if the resolution is sort of an illusion, like let's say somebody's mad at you, and maybe you didn't do anything wrong, and you're realizing, yeah, you know, this isn't working because you're somebody that constantly is blaming me for stuff, making me feel shitty, even though I'm not doing anything wrong. So maybe what I need to do is apologize to you, give you that resolution, and then stop being friends with you. Because maybe that's the best way to handle it, because I'm not causing more hassle. Maybe in that situation, confrontation isn't the right answer, and maybe I know this seems too specific because it sort of is a specific situation.
Yeah.
But it's like, I've thought about it with this guy that I've been talking about, that I stopped being friends with, somebody I was close to, and yeah, it's like maybe I could just apologize for whatever he thinks I did, tell him I don't care whose fault it is, and just sort of move on, because it's just causing us both hassle, and I think I've already realized that our relationship just doesn't work, and inevitably we're not going to be friends. So might as well
get the closure.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Right?
Get the closure. Get ahead of it, and get rid of the bitterness with resolution. Even though, because really all it is at this point is I already know that we're not going to be friends, and I feel like I'm just attached to my ego in the sense of like, I'm right here. I didn't do anything wrong. You're just being a dick. But that doesn't really matter in the end because we're still both feeling bitter and emotional weight in the end. So, yeah, I don't know. It'll be something that I'll test out and I'll get back to you on. But
yeah, definitely something to at least ponder for a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, I think on the smaller scale, though, I've thought about like wanting to just reshape what life was like. I don't know how to get super deep. I guess some of it's more personal. I wouldn't want to speak about like on a podcast, but I think there's been moments, and probably in my life, especially, I think everybody's where they thought like, I just want to get away from what I'm doing, and I don't know what I want to do differently, but I know it's something.
Yeah.
And I think that's a struggle that you kind of have to deal with.
Yeah, I've been there.
I think that's part of growing up too. Is kind of like, fuck.
Yeah, because you don't really have that when you're a kid, because you don't have anything to worry about.
Yeah.
But, yep, I've been there before too. And what I do is I go and do something that's mentally stimulating to get my mind off of that.
Yeah.
Like I'll read, or I'll play chess, or I'll do homework, or something like that.
Something to put you back in the present moment.
Yeah.
Realize things aren't that
because
bad.
I mean, if you're thinking like that, then and you're not just like truly living as life is supposed to be lived, then you're always going to be a little bit unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I always just try and let's go do something that's going to get me out of my head for a while, or use my head differently. And that always helps. But I've also never been one to really dwell on things. If something happens, then I'll think, I'll consider it, and I'll think about it for a little while. But I've never had anything that's like, it's really stayed with me for weeks or months or even years that has always like, hindered my growth or my performance in certain things. I've always been taught just to think about it, get what you need to out of the time, but don't dwell on it. Just move on. And that's definitely helped. I've used the word definitely like 45 fucking times today.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But yeah, absolutely. but yeah, so
Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
Something that I find interesting about it, especially right now in this context, is if you notice, negative dwelling tends to, or maybe even debatably always happens in the tense of the past or the future. Like you're either you're worrying about the future, or you're feeling regret, or just or depression about the past. And like how many times like do you dwell about the present moment? Because the present moment is what you can control. So like you don't end up doing it just innately because it's like even if you're frustrated, then I'm like, oh, this sucks. Oh, this just sucks. Then it's like, well, you have the power to change that right now.
Yeah.
You can just go do something. Like you said, it's like you can just do something to put you back in the present moment, and especially if it's something that puts you in the present moment while synonymously making you feel satisfied. That just like changes your mood and changes your perspective on things. You're able to go, oh yeah, like there are just activities that I can do all by myself or with another person or with a group of friends or whatever that take me back to the present moment and help me feel satisfied in that. Like I can feel good in the present moment just based off of a few changes, but your past and your future, things you literally cannot change. I mean, your future you can obviously you can alter to some degree, but there's also that thing called randomness that exists, and that makes it so you can't totally control it.
Yeah, I think a lot about. I worry a lot about the future more than I do, like think about the past.
Yeah.
And that's just because there are a lot of things that I haven't done yet that I feel I should have done, or that I should be on pace to doing.
But you're worried about the path that you're on. Is it the right path? I bet that question's in your head.
That was in my head a lot, but I've been reassured now that I know the exact way to get the forensics job that I want if rapping doesn't pan out, I know exactly what I need to do and how I need to do it now. Which that makes me feel a lot better because I can now do both things. I just hit the mic. I can now study to be the best person in the class that has the coroner for El Paso County as the teacher. You know, I can do that. I could be the best person in my class. I can go get his end of the year internship that he always offers. I could take that. I can go become. I could, if I do well and apply myself in that when I'm doing that, then I can get him to. I can show him that I'm capable of taking on a full-time paid position, and then I know how to go and do this. Mm-hmm. Whereas before, like my freshman and my sophomore years of college, I was like, okay, I know the end goal, and I know school is a big part of that, but I don't know if I were to graduate today with the knowledge that I have, I wouldn't know where to go with it. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know who to talk to or how to talk to them or other criteria that I need to be even eligible. But now I know that. So that is like a huge weight off my shoulders because now I know what I need to focus on other than just the super open-ended aspect of your schoolwork,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
that's why goals are so important. It's like if you don't know kind of what you're aiming at, but yeah, if you don't know what you're aiming at, then yeah, it's like
really just like
it's like why am I on this path? Is this like that? That's when you really start worrying about the path that you're on when you don't know like where you're headed. It's kind of like being in like a dark tunnel and not seeing any light. You're like, okay, no idea where the light is. Which way do I go? Is this even a tunnel? What is going on?
I'm sorry, I got a little bit lost in that one right there.
Am I naked?
I don't know if it started because
Am I hard right now?
I thought I smelled breadsticks, and then you started talking about tunnel. I'm sorry, I got really lost.
Honestly, yeah. Did you have fun?
I did.
Nice.
I enjoyed everything that we talked about. I got to. Rapping is always fun.
Yeah, it's
just
really
talking
cool to
about.
process.
I really just getting into stuff that I didn't think we were going to get into. That was really eye-opening, really helpful, really useful conversation.
Would you do it again? And would you recommend?
Absolutely, I'd do it again. I would recommend it to people because it's different than just like hanging out.
Yeah.
Talking over like a beer or something. We're just.
We haven't had like.
It's dedicated just to talking.
We've had a few level conversations, but like for like 3 hours, it's rare.
And I like how, like at the beginning it seems kind of uncomfortable and kind of forced, but then once you get into it, the discussion and the topics just kind of seamlessly goes. You just transition.
Chance both felt the same as that. I think it's kind of like Jenna was super nervous before hers. Chance was like. Potato.
But yeah, I think, it felt pretty. There were times where I forgot we were on a podcast.
After being on the podcast, are you more inclined to listen to more of our podcasts?
Yes.
Other people?
You don't have to lie. It's okay.
Yes.
No, but
I don't know. I really struggle with listening to 2.5 hours of content.
Yeah.
That's hard. So it's very hard.
But yeah, I'll definitely break it down like I do with other podcasts. I don't listen to Joe Rogan or Chris D'Elia for 2 straight hours either. I break it down. Yeah. And it's really cool that you guys post the timestamps, so that if people don't have that time, they can read all of them and decide what they want to hear from this the most.
It kind of sounds like we do have a gun to your head and like a script in front of you.
I can assure the audience that they do not have that. I know that's like the perfect thing to say if they actually did, but they really, really actually
I just
don't.
Imagine all this is on the script. Yeah. Like you're reading it down. They really, really, really don't.
I promise.
Now people are going to be like, wait, did it really say all of that?
That's pretty elaborate.
Which I don't know what to believe.
Even this right here. But again, thanks for coming on. We'll have you on again. And one thing that I want to say that we should celebrate is So we're on. This was our 6th episode that we got to air, and I saw a statistic. I read it that podcasts that make it to their 7th episode end up generally staying on the air for a very long time. People, if they don't make it to 7, it seems like people under 7 usually quit.
They think they'll do it, and then they'll start to continuously do it and be like, no, this isn't it, and then they'll stop, or it wasn't as important as they thought it was, and just they'll forget about it.
Yeah, for whatever reason, they just like bail out on 7. Like that.
Really, 7 episodes? That's it?
I know, it's kind of crazy. So it's like
I feel like you guys are just getting started. And
I know we are like exactly.
But
I
if you
mean,
think 1 episode a week, that's 7 weeks, and that's almost 2 months.
Yeah, that's true.
But
that's
still,
true. I don't know. I guess I thought of it more like, Joe Rogan's, where he does one every day.
He does almost every day.
Almost every day, and in that regard, it doesn't seem like a lot. But if you're doing one a week, like what Chris D'Elia does, or I think it's Bill Burr does, like Monday morning. Yeah. Then that seems like you have more dedication to it. If you're once a week.
But yeah, so it's like our 7th episode is kind of big in my mind, and I don't know. We're gonna figure out something to do with that.
Definitely.
Yeah, exactly.
I haven't been able to, so thank you, Zwilli. You're like one of my best friends. It's awesome to have you on here.
Yeah, it was fun, man. I'm glad I could come and do this.
Help provide a lot of good content. I think we can definitely throw your SoundCloud link in the description as well.
Fuck yeah.
Zach's rap SoundCloud is in the description. You want to put your Instagram there or anything?
Yeah. Let me figure out what my Instagram is.
I mean, I'll just put it in the description. So yeah,
okay.
We'll put Zach's Instagram down there, his social security number, his
mom's
phone number,
maiden name,
his mom's maiden name,
2 security,
his routing number.
answers.
Yeah, so thanks for coming on, man. Well, look forward to having you on
yeah,
again.
Thanks for having me.